Hey there, Business for Unicorns podcast listeners. This is Mark, and I'm here to tell you about an awesome free resource on businessforunicorns.com. If you ever find yourself feeling frustrated with your training gym because you know that there are all sorts of things you could work on, but you're not really sure how to prioritize, you don't know what's the most important thing to work on or what order you should be tackling your priorities, well, now is the time to go to businessforunicorns.com, click the button, and fill out our free self-assessment. With the Ultimate Training Gym Owner Report Card, you will gain immediate clarity on just where to be focusing your attention to create more positive impact on your community, to drive more revenue and take-home income, and to do it all with less stress and more peace of mind. So go to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, fill out that free self-assessment, and start building a business and life you love today.
Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today I'm stoked to be bringing you my friend, Unicorn Society member, Eilish Kid, who is the co-founder and owner of Art Gym, which is in Tasmania, Australia. She's been a Unicorn Society member for not that long, but over a year now. And I love working with her, and I'm so excited to have her on the podcast today. So welcome, Eilish.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's really great to be able to talk to you this morning.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's morning for you, almost the end of my day. So sun's rising for you and setting for me, which I always find confusing. But, you know, I'm a simple human. It's the little things I struggle with. Well, let's just start by introducing yourself to our audience here. So, Eilish, can you just say a little bit about Art Gym, which, you know, frankly, spoiler alert for listeners, Art Gym is kind of a kindred spirit to Mark Fisher Fitness in that it's a gym for people who hate gyms. So I want to hear, Eilish, I want to hear you talk a little bit about that, about why you started it and why it exists, because it's also relevant to our topic today, and just share a little bit about what made you join Unicorn Society and how long have you been in. So go ahead, tell us about you.
Sure. Art Gym was like this concept that I'd had in my head for probably around at least 25 years. So I'm 46. I went to art school in my very early 20s and did the typical art school things, like I had coffee for breakfast and cigarettes in those days. Fairly unhealthy lifestyle. And I think I just got to the point after, fourth year when I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I went along to like this tiny little women's gym around the corner from the studio. And it was had to be kind of almost a secretive thing because it was so uncool to go to the gym in those days. It was so embarrassing for my friends. They'd be like, what are you wearing on your feet, Eilish? And I'd be like, they're gym shoes. So from that point, which is, all those years ago, I kind of had this idea in my head from then that I wanted to create a space that would be okay aesthetically for anyone to come into, so that if you're an artist or a designer or anyone really, you wouldn't have to come into the gym and to adopt a different persona, so that you could still be yourself when you came into the space, and that the space itself still looked okay to artists. Like there we have, kettlebells, which are these beautiful round, colourful shapes. We don't have a lot of clunky equipment. We try to think about colour and lighting and just keeping things so that they feel aesthetically normal and neutral, and not like you're going into a supermarket or a chain store or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say for people who are observing this podcast by video, you can see that Eilish is bathed in like a green light from a neon sign in front of her. So you can tell that she cares about the aesthetics and lighting if you're watching this video. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
That's okay. So that idea was there for a long time. I left, so I was in Australia. I had 10 years in Indonesia. While I was there, fell in love with an Indonesian man. He'd been in the gym industry his entire life. We ended up 10 years together there. Then we moved back to Australia. I had small children, and he was working in 5 different gyms, and he was riding his bike between them. So it was like pretty full on lifestyle, and then he hurt his knee, and I was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? It's like, I'm going to have to start doing something that's not just sitting at home and doing some drawings. And I was like, I do have fitness qualifications, and maybe we can do this. And I was like, maybe I'll, do that little idea I had all those years ago. And we just started off as a tiny little PT studio. and had some paintings in there to make me feel good. And yeah, then over the years just started sort of knocking out walls there to accommodate more people. And then now we've moved locations, so we're in this brilliant location at the moment that's actually an old petrol station, a gas station, I guess you'd say in the US.
Yep.
So it's fantastic. It's like two levels, concrete floors, ventilation. We can open all the doors out, so doors that come up and roller doors, and outside areas. So it's kind of I guess taken a long while. We've been in business for about 8 or 9 years, but it's really coming into its own.
Wow. I mean, what a great vision. I mean, a great vision born out of your creativity and artistry, and then a business started out of need, right? Yeah. And then joined with your passion for aesthetics. So that's amazing. Yeah. And then just a little bit about, you've been in Unicorn Society for a little over a year now. Is that right?
Yeah, around a year.
Just briefly, what made you decide to join a group like that?
So I think when we first opened the gym, I was, I guess, coming from, I'm a gym person. I own a gym, but I'm not really a gym person, if you know what I mean. So
sure.
So coming into that, I sort of had a more intellectual, but sort of, I wanted to know who the best coaches were, and so I was looking around at who the best coaches were. And in those days, there was an organisation called Strength Matters. I think they're still going, but they had a magazine, and that magazine would feature various fitness icons like Dan John, Paul McElroy. Mark Fisher was on the cover of one of them riding a unicorn. So I knew about him. I was really interested in his gym. And I guess all those years later, it was like, after COVID, looking for some more international perspective and to see, Tasmania is pretty small, so there's a great fitness industry here, but always wanting to reach out and to see what's going on around the world. And then I saw the coaching opportunity there, and the fact that you could actually communicate directly with these, fitness stars across the other side of the world was really attractive. So yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you heard the calling of our unicorn, and we found each other from around the globe. Yeah, I will say that for listeners, just go visit Eilish's website, artgym.com.au. Is that right?
Yeah,
AU.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then visit markfisherfitness.com, and you'll see that we both, care about the visuals, that we're both trying to make a splash, and we're both, we both at the core are trying to be a place for people who don't like traditional gym settings. So I think we are kindred spirits from around the globe. So one of the topic that I think we settled to talk on when we were preparing for our conversation today, I was asking Eilish, what are some wins and successes you've had recently? And the thing that she shared with me was that she's been reminded a lot recently how valuable it is to kind of get back to her roots and stick with her core vision, her original vision for the gym. And I just thought that was such an inspiring idea that we hadn't really, I don't know if we talked about much on this podcast before, the idea of reconnecting with your roots. So just talk to me a little bit, share a little bit with our listeners what you were saying to me about recently, that being reminded about the importance of getting back to your roots and following your original vision for the gym. Share with them what you share with me.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been going for about 8 or 9 years, and during that time we've had various coaches come and go, and I think sometimes there's a tendency in myself when, I think someone's really cool and they're like a great coach, I sort of derail a little bit, and I'm like, let's do more of the stuff that they like to do. And that's in the past, it's changed a lot of things. Like it's changed the merchandise that we do, the colors that we pick. Like I can almost look back on our Instagram and our imaging and sort of say, that was that era when you're really influenced by that person. Mm-hmm. I think COVID, and in particular having that sort of long shutdown period and then having to come out of that and then really sort of fight for your business again, I guess it forces you to kind of reassess who you are and what you want to be doing. And I had a really nice conversation with one of my coaches one day, and he was kind of like, Eilish, like put the things that you love into the gym and put the things that you love around you, and then the right people will come. And then lately that's become really apparent.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I think, I hear this a lot in my conversations with Unicorn Society members. And it's a hard balance to strike because on one hand, businesses that are growing are always evolving, right? And every community is a collection of whatever people are in the community at the moment, right? And so some parts of us wants to be responsive and growing and changing, but there's another part of us that also wants to stick with like our core identity and the idea of like, if we put out what we like, if we put out what we care about, if we put out what we value, we'll attract more people who like that aesthetic or also hold those values. There's some dance that we're talking about here I think is really fascinating, of both being firm in our core values and our beliefs, but also being flexible. So maybe just talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned trainers are people who come and go and will often kind of maybe pull you off track or pull you away from your vision. What are other experiences you've had of being kind of pulled away from your core vision?
I guess it's, probably mostly like, as a creative gym, I tend to like encapsulating as many different fitness modalities as possible. So if someone's like, we're going to do hip hop, I'm going to bring a hip hop class, I'm like, sure, that sounds great. So we've had strongman and hip hop and, yoga, I do kettlebells. So there's all these different things happening all the time. And I think I think that's great. Like I love that. Like it keeps me inspired. It keeps the members entertained and inspired. But I think at times it's just like delving too much into one thing. So, going off on this sort of strongman tangent and buying all the strongman equipment. And then all of a sudden there's, the gym's changed. So it's like I guess it's being a good manager, isn't it? Being a good
Well, yeah, that's the hard part, is that you're right, because by themselves it feels like, oh yeah, we have this new person and they're really good at strongman stuff, or they're a great yoga teacher, or they're an amazing hip hop instructor. On one hand it's like, oh, why shouldn't we try that? That sounds really fun. But you're right that if you keep switching gears and people just don't know who you are anymore, right? Because your identity just keeps shifting. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I think there's a lot of people who are listening or watching who have a studio, and they often feel pulled in lots of directions. Even at MFF, we used to offer massage therapy. We offered yoga at one point. We've been asked 1 million times to do dance classes for our Broadway community. And any time we've tried to veer outside of what we do, which is functional group training, we've always regretted it. We've always regretted it. So when you have reached out and tried these other things, at what point do you know it was a mistake?
So it's hard. It's really hard to know what the point is, but I think it's just when it starts to not sit well with you. So I think intuitively you kind of get a sense of like, I'm not really enjoying being in the space. I don't know if the members are enjoying it, like especially with dynamics, and like when you have a particular thing like strongman or hip hop or yoga, it like draws its own crowd, and that crowd itself can be quite strong, and then maybe not quite aligned with our core members. So sometimes I guess it's just a sort of sense of like, oh, things are a little bit off, I'm not quite sure what's going on. It feels like not out of control, but it feels like it's veering off into another direction.
I think you're right. There's a lot of like intuition here, because I'm thinking back to the same experiences that I just shared when we did yoga, and we had a lot of people coming in for yoga, and they'd be like, it's too noisy in here. It's not chill. It's not chill enough, right? It's like the wrong vibe, And so I think you're right that when you stray too far from your identity in terms of having new people in the space or new modalities in the space, that it doesn't feel right. It feels like a misalignment. And that was totally true for us as an example in yoga. We're like, well, wait, we're not a quiet place, right? Mark Fisher Fitness is not a place where you come to zen out. Like, yes, you can have a centering experience in some cases, like during our cool down, but we're not a yoga studio. So we felt that misalignment kind of in our bones, which is, I think, what you're talking about. So let's talk about the flip side of the coin. So when you do get back to your core purpose and serving your core audience, doing your core service, I know you were mentioning that a lot of things aligned for you. So talk to me a little bit about when you're running in your lane, doing all those things, the core services you're great at with the core people, what's then possible for you? How do you know that you're heading in the right direction?
I think everything's possible. So I just feel like when you start to put out things that are right and that are more of yourself, I feel like everything just starts moving faster, and the right people start appearing, things start happening by themselves, people notice you. So we do a lot of creative photo shoots and put visuals out there, and we've played around with what the instructors are wearing, so it sort of looks fresher and brighter and more creative. And so the responses that we get from those things, which seem like they're small, but they're really just saying, look, this is who we are and what we do. Things just start moving faster. The right people start turning up. So someone will turn up and they'll be like, hey, I'd love to join your gym. I'm a urban garden designer, or I'm an artist, the right people start coming in. Recently we had a really heavy work period. We've been working really hard. We took 4 days off and went away, and had a new member who's a street artist come and approach me before we went away and said, oh, you're going away for a while, would it be okay if I painted a mural in your absence? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. She'd show me the piece of wall that was going to be used. So I can't describe this sort of feeling of being away on holidays, and I had all these people in the gym who were sending me pictures all the time of what was going on and how excited they were. And then this magnificent mural, which is like a big mermaid along the side of the gym, carrying a kettlebell, which is my favorite sport. And it was just like really meaningful and quite sort of stunning to me. It's just sort of, they were up there like painting as the sun started to set, and it was, getting dark, and then the gold leaf in the painting, and that was starting to shimmer, and more messages from people saying, oh, I'm sort of here doing some kettlebells, do you want me to send you some video? And so just to me, it was like, once you start to put the right things out there, the right things start to happen, and then you don't even need to really be there. You can be removed, be removed from the gym, and the magic just keeps happening.
Yeah, I mean, what a beautiful example that is of someone, painting a mural while you're gone, and it creating such an energy and a buzz and an excitement amongst your members. I think that's so beautiful, because I do really think it's true, Eilish, that every moment is an opportunity for us as business owners to tell the world, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how we can work together, right? This is how we can serve you. And for you specifically, because you're trying to draw creative people who are interested in aesthetics and design, right? You tell the world, this is who we are, what we care about, and how we can help you by putting out beautiful images and creativity and photo shoots, right? And even though there could be, somewhat small things like doing a photo shoot and dressing in unique and fun ways, or changing the colors in the space, it does send a very clear message to your avatar saying, hey, if you care about this stuff too, we might be for you. This might be the community for you. So I think that's just so wise. And when you are being your authentic self as a business and putting out messages and images that align with your avatar, the people will come. They will see you like a beacon, right? It'll be like the bat signal to everyone in Tasmania, right? That if you live nearby and you're an art school nerd who loves all this, who loves murals, this is the gym for you.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm curious if you think back to, you've been open for 8 or 9 years now. You think back to all of your time being open. What are the other moments where you feel like, your identity as a business has really brought people in the door, where you've sent a clear message out? This is who we are. This is who we serve. What are other examples of that? So the mural is one. Certainly your photo shoots have been one. I'm just curious, what else have you done that have drawn in those creative types?
I think so using photography a lot's helped. We've done some things in the space, like we've had a writer's cave in the space, which is basically just an opportunity for writers to come in and write in a quiet space. So that's kind of helped sponsoring events sometimes. So we've sponsored various events and had our name associated with them. So that's probably helped attract those types of people that we enjoy working with. Not that we love working with everyone, but I guess
of course,
sometimes it's special to have people that you really connect with come in. I think just small things really. So yeah, little things, little things.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I mean, if it's collaborating with artists, having art in your space, like you said, partnering with other organizations or groups that are doing things that are artistic and creative. I mean, these are all great ways to get people in your space. So
Yeah,
let's acknowledge, what might be the elephant in the room of this conversation. In that is
yeah,
that your gym and most likely my gym, we're the anomalies. We're the I'll say this with love. We're the
yeah,
weirdos in the fitness world, right? The
yeah,
ones that are more colorful and outrageous and driven by creativity and artistry. I don't think it's a good or a bad thing, right? We are ourselves. But most of our
yeah,
people listening are never going to have a gym that has a kettlebell unicorn holding on the side, right? That has some
yeah,
sort of unicorn on the side of it, or has a mermaid on
yeah,
the side of it, or is covered in rainbows or local artwork. And so
yeah,
I'll ask you this, and I have my own thoughts, but what's your advice
yeah.
to them? So how can they take your lessons learned about connecting to your original roots and vision and speaking to your avatar? How do they take that and apply it to what they do?
I think one thing, like I think we talked about photography and stuff like that. So I think regardless of whether you're creative or not, I think images are important and
Yeah.
paying attention to the quality of images. So and also copy, so what you put on your website and words. So I see like a lot of fitness businesses where like I think art is important, I think design is important, and I think that is important for everyone. So I don't think that's just for artists. I think whether you're an artist or you're a very mainstream gym catering to general pop, I think you should still think about what your website looks like, whether the images that are on your website and on your Instagram, if they're blurry, if they're like the lighting's funny, or if you've not paid a photographer, if you haven't thought about how you write it, like that might not be your skill set, but still get it done by someone, because that's telling your story. You see that a lot in like body transformations and things where you're trying to show a result, but the end photograph isn't shot properly. Yeah, so I guess things that I think are important in terms of having an interest in the arts and creativity. I think those things like quality writing and quality imaging are still important for everyone.
Yeah, I think beautifully said, Eilish. I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners, right? One of many in this conversation, but that every word you write about your business and every image you share, every video you share is an opportunity to tell the story of your business, to share your values, to share with, to connect to your avatar out there, who is the person you ideally want to work with. And I think, and yours do that so beautifully, Eilish. I think it's a great example for everyone. And it doesn't matter if you're interested, in Broadway folks like me and us at MFF, or you're interested in creative design types like Eilish, even if your gym is all about athletes. Cool. Well, does every word and image you put out into the world speak to athletes? Not only, like Eilish said, is it a good quality image, right? But are you using words and images that actually resonate with them? Are they going to see that image and be like, oh, those are my people? That's my tribe, right? And so in that way, I think you're right, Eilish, that, that aspect of design as business owners really matters. And if it's not your skill set, go get some help. Right? Find someone who can help you. But all of those words and images really tell the story of our business and help us attract the kind of people we want to work with. And, and frankly, Eilish, it's something I've seen you do so well. So bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. I think we're gonna wrap it up there, because I think I'll have you back some other time, and there's probably other topics we can talk about. But how can people go find you and Art Gym on the internet? Clearly, you all should go check out Eilish, check out all the words and images we were just talking about on our website and our social media accounts. But where can people find you on the internet, Eilish?
Yeah, so the website's artgym.com.au, Instagram and Facebook, Art Gym Hobart. If you are in Australia and if you come to Tasmania, we'd love you to drop in. We love people dropping in from interstate and from other countries. So yeah, feel free to rock straight up at the gym and say hi if you're in town.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I hope to be there myself someday. I've never been to Tasmania, so I need to make the trip.
Can't wait.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Eilish. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I love speaking to you. Thank you.
Well, I hope you loved today's podcast, and forgive me, I want to remind you one more time, if you haven't already done so, head over to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, and get your free self-assessment, the ultimate training gym owner report card. I promise you, you're going to want to dig into this resource and get the support you need finding crystal clarity on exactly where you need to be focusing to create a life and a business you love.